Well, US Vice President Mike Pence and Democratic VP nominee Kamala Harris today faced off in the first and only vice presidential debate. Pence and Harris, well, they clashed, laying out their plan to handle policing, criminal justice and civil rights.
I trust our justice system.
Thank you, Vice President.
We'll always stand with law enforcement.
Bad cops are bad for good cops. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system.
The Vice President slammed Democratic nominee Joe Biden for being pro-China.
China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China.
While Harris criticised the president's record with American troops.
Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because, of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him.
Right, time now for my international panel. Join me now, former Senator Cory Bernardi in Adelaide, and in Sydney, James Morrow, opinions editor for Daily Telly and co-host of Sky News Outsiders. James, you've written a piece for the Daily Telegraph on today's debate. What did you make of it?
Well, I just thought that Mike Pence absolutely won that hands down. You know, he did so much good, not just for himself and the Trump campaign, but he also opened up all of the vulnerabilities on the Biden-Harris campaign that we should have been talking about for weeks and months now. Kamala Harris came off essentially as a shifty character. Look at that quote you just had, that clip you just had, where she was, you know, the most progressive far-left person ever in Congress, or currently in Congress, according to all the ratings, you know, saying that she suddenly has found this newfound respect for the troops. She wouldn't answer questions on whether or not she and Joe Biden would expand the Supreme Court to pack the court, so as they dodged that question. She dodged questions about what conversations she's had with Joe Biden about his health and succession. She dodged and ducked and weaved at every step here. She came off looking really shifty. Mike Pence came off looking super presidential. I'll tell you one thing. You've got two guys. Joe Biden, there's a lot of concerns about his health, his mental state. Donald Trump, 74 years old, dealing with coronavirus. A lot of people are thinking if one of these two had to step into the chair, they're going to rather it was Mike Pence any day of the week.
Yeah, it's interesting. Frank Luntz, Cory, you'll know him, American pollster, pretty much on the left side of politics more than the right side of politics. He made the point in tweets that he put out that Pence looked more professional. He said he looked tired, but he looked more professional. This is the groups that he was running the debate through. And they thought that Kamala Harris was passionate, but her reaction faces were really bothering people. I'll tell you, it was a distraction for me because she was playing the theatre as opposed to the substance of the debate.
And who can blame her? Because the media in America have let her get away with this for the entire campaign. What I took out of today was that Mike Pence, firstly, is a different character to Donald Trump, but it complements him, and I think they're a great team. And I also saw in Kamala Harris a candidate that hasn't been tested by any journalists, that finds it convenient to parrot absolute lies that have been completely discredited, and she states them as facts. And she was called up on it today. And when she was speechless. And I've seen now some of the apologists in the media for her saying that it's because she was a woman, she couldn't push back too hard, or some other excuse. It is nonsensical, the free ride the Democrats get. And I think Mike Pence absolutely smashed it out of the park today.
Cory, I want to go to James actually on this one. James, when the president leaves the White House, he'll be there for a period of time, but he certainly left the hospital and he's on his way to recovery. How are they going to play it in the campaign?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more sort of virtual events. I mean, the virtual events that we saw was pioneered, I think, by the way they handled the Republican National Convention. But what I would frankly like to see, I'd like to see Mike Pence get out there on the trail more, have him do more events. You know, as I say in my piece in the Telegraph tomorrow, you know, Trump is a guy who spent his life capitalizing on assets. He's got a great asset here in Mike Pence, who I think, as Cory quite rightly says, is different but complements him. And I think if we saw more of Pence, the sort of stuff that people worry about Trump, about him being a bit, you know, freewheeling and freelancing and tweeting and all of that stuff, suddenly there would look like there was a lot more very traditional, solid ballast to that ticket. So let's see a lot more of Pence in the next 3.5 weeks.
Corey, what about you? I mean, the polls have still got, and I think it's widening in the favour of Biden, but I mean, there's hardly been a poll that's called anything right here or overseas in recent times. How are they going to play it?
Well, I take some comfort because, of course, I want a Trump-Pence victory, but I'm trying to take some comfort from the last election. About this same time, Trump was well behind Hillary Clinton. And I do think that everything comes down to the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's when the voters are really focused on it. And I think that the Trump-Pence ticket is now exploiting all the failures of Biden and Kamala Harris. And most notably, this Russiagate collusion by Clinton, Obama and the entire Democrats, I think is going to cause a big stink over there, and it will cast a very dark stain on the Democrat Party. And the people of America will say, we don't want that. We don't want China appeasers. We don't want new taxes. And we'd rather have Donald Trump back.